welcome to the shop today. I'm here at LeGrand Stereo and Music. Be sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell, and we'll send you a video or a notification when I put up a new video. Today I have a Seagull acoustic guitar. These are made in Canada, I believe, Quebec, and I think one of the cool things about Seagull guitars was that I think some of the labor put into these instruments was done with laborers from the prison system in Canada, guys who had gotten in trouble, were capable of working with wood or needed to learn how to do that for a trade. I could be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong. Please do leave a note. So today on this awesome Seagull guitar, this thing sounded great. I've pulled the strings off of it, obviously. We're going to do a total cleanup and polish on this, and we'll clean up the frets. Probably not going to do any fret crowning. Maybe these first 3 or 4. We might put a little crown on those. They're a little dented, but mostly just tarnished and dirty. So on this guitar, what we have is a crack. You see that crack right there. Today what I am going to do is apply some glue to that crack and clamp that thing down. Now it's not a horrendous crack, but even using my hands I can push it back together again. So what I'll do is I will mix up some in this dirty coffee cup, I'm going to mix up some Elmer's wood glue. I don't use Titebond, I use Elmer's. Titebond gets a lot of endorsements from other guitar guys. I'm pretty old school. Elmer's glue was a very fine product while I was in grade school, so that's what I use. But I'm going to mix some of this glue and thin it out with some water. That will enable me to get the glue to penetrate down through the crack. It's a very small gap there. Push that glue down through that crack with some pressure, and then clamp the guitar back together again, and fixed. Problem solved. So got a little crack on this guy. I am also going to do a complete cleanup. We're going to clean the fretboard, and you can see all the guck on there. Lots of mess. So we're going to clean that up and polish the guitar up. And a little bit of wear on this guitar from just playing, and that's great to see. This thing's getting used. We'll get it back to the owner here as quickly as possible. So I'm going to let this dry overnight. I'll shoot a couple of videos of the work that I've done. Get her clamped up and back together. Boom. Alright, so we have our glue mixed up here. It's a nice runny mixture of Elmer's wood glue. And we have our clamps ready to go. I'm using my Irwin's clamps here. And we're going to put some glue on this crack. And I've cleaned this prior to gluing it. You can see the crack right here in that area. I've cleaned the crack with some Roncinol. Make sure the surfaces are really nice and clean and give the glue something really good to adhere to. And I am going to also, on the interior of this guitar, place a cleat. Now there's a brace right about here that crack is going across, and I'm going to get on the inside of this guitar and see if I can't get some glue in that area also. I'm certain I can, and I will be back once I get this thing glued and clamped up. So now we have the crack glued and crimped together with my clamps. And I've used some blue tape to avoid putting any marks on the face or the back of the guitar. So now that I have that all done and clamped up, I am going to go ahead and tip this guitar over and give the neck a good cleaning and maybe polish the frets. I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. All I need to do is tilt the guitar down and allow those clamps to hang over the edge of the table, and I'll get to work on the fretboard. You can see how pretty gross that is. We'll get that cleaned up. I'll have some pictures of that here in a few minutes. Again, Elmer's wood glue. Boy, it's a girl's best friend. Well, here we are back, getting this guitar cleaned up. Yeah, just hit it with some cleaner. Check that out. Nice and pretty. We'll see what kind of color changes we get in this Oh boy, look at that already. Just kind of doing a good once over on this guitar neck. Use a pretty heavy dose of cleaner, and I'm hoping you can see how brown that stuff is, even up here in the no money zone. You can't play an acoustic guitar up here without some pretty incredible technique. Yeah. Look at all that brown goo coming off of that guitar neck. Pretty awesome. All that's coming off there, and you'll see, likely see how dry, clean now this fretboard is. Get in close to these frets up in here. Get right up next to them and use that toothbrush to do the work. Get those bad boys clean. This is going to look pretty when it's all done. Get it treated with some linseed oil and some polish. I'll re-inspect those first couple frets on this guitar to see if it really does need a crown, but I can see a little bit of wear. I don't think I need to crown these. I really, looking at it even at this level, I think that all I'm going to do is do a polish on those. And we'll save a crown for when those get a little bit more wear. I'll know a bit more once I get a couple strings on this and can do some neck relief measurements, check for fret buzz and things like that. So I'll be back after I wipe this thing down. Okay, so I've cleaned off the wood on the fretboard and made the frets look even a lot nicer. They were, some of the cleaner will remove some material off of those frets. They don't get cleaned very often. I think people ignore that part of taking care of their guitars, but you can see that the wood is all nice and clear now. A little bit of moisture on the top of the guitar from doing the cleaning on that. We'll get that all off of there. Now we got a clean spot on the top of the guitar. Look at that, amazing. So now I'm going to take some polish to these frets and we'll get an idea. And I'm going to polish up this headstock, a little bit of overspray there. We'll take care of that. Boy, doesn't that fretboard look nice. A nice pretty piece of rosewood on this Seagull guitar. We'll polish them up and get them shining. Alright, so on these frets I'm going to use 600 grit, then I am going to use some 1500 grit, and then some 2 grand, and some Neverdale. Okay, well, I have polished these frets. Again, like always, I've got this mirror-like finish on these guys. They just look absolutely beautiful, and I'm about to put some linseed oil on the neck. Put a few drops on here. No need to marinate it, just a few drops. Yeah, that ought to do it. That's probably way more than I need, but I think this wood is fairly dry on this neck, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it the full Monty. And look at that wood come back to life with this linseed oil. This stuff, I talk about it in almost every video where I'm doing fret work. The oil really, it takes about 2 to 3 days for it to cure up. So now's a really great time for me to be oiling this neck because I have to wait for the glue to dry and grass to grow. So this great time for putting some oil on this neck and bringing this all back to life. And I do my best on these to really get that oil down in next to the frets, really spread it around, get it nice and up tight close to those frets so I don't have any bare spots where I've missed with the oil. And yes, it will, over time, over the next day or so, it will dull out a little bit. This is the part that I've kind of been waiting for. It's a beautiful piece of rosewood on this saddle piece. And we're going to put a drop here and a drop here. And watch this come to life. I pulled the saddle out of there to make sure that I don't get any oil on the saddle. Not that that's any big deal, but kind of hard to get off of stuff other than wood. And boom, this comes back to life.
Stu,
howdy.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
All right. So, I have this guitar all oiled up, the fretboard all polished and shiny. And I usually go over these frets one last time with a bit of Never Dull, but on this one I don't think I'm going to do that. These things just look so beautiful as it is that we'll just give them a wipe down and get the oil off of the frets and residual. We'll let this set up overnight. Come back tomorrow. Boom, there you go. Brand new fretboard on a Seagull, made in Canada. And this is an artist series from Seagull. A really cool mother of pearl. Looks like inlay on that headstock. Pretty neat. Nice guitar.